Marina, you'll be after the music. We have the readings,
Yep.
and then I'll introduce the speaker.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, that we can be having this precious meeting to really share ways together to live a better life and to make the world a better place. We want to pause and acknowledge. So I'm sorry for those who are in England or elsewhere. We do acknowledge those of us in Australia. We live on the ancient land with the ancient teachings of many Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. So it's the tradition here is to acknowledge their elders and their teachings and the way they were for tens of thousands of years were compelled to look after the country and knew their country like the back of their hand and how to take care of it in each unique place around what is called modern Australia. But we want to pay our respects to the elders past and present and hope that we too may tread lightly on the earth. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you.
Thy name is my healing, oh my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. Nearness to thee is my hope, and love for thee is my companion. Thy name is my healing, oh my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. Thy mercy to me is my healing and my succor in both this world and the world to come. Thou verily art the all-bountiful, the all-knowing, the all-wise. Thou verily art the all-bountiful, the all-knowing, the all-wise. Thou verily art the all-bountiful, the all-knowing, the all-wise. Thou verily art the all-bountiful, the all-knowing, the all-wise. Thy name is my healing, oh my God, and remembrance of thee is
You can start.
Okay. Thy name is my healing.
We can see the writings.
No, this one, you have to read this.
I can't see the writing. I can only see the. Thy name is my healing.
We cannot see the number one. We have to
Yeah.
scroll down.
Bit, is it? I can't scroll it. I think Siva has to scroll down.
I can't see the screen either.
You can't see the screen, or you can't
You
see
can
the.
see the screen, but not number one.
We cannot see number one.
We can just see thy name is my healing. That's all. From
Oh.
yeah.
Can you now?
No, you have to scroll down a bit.
It's not moving. The screen is not moving.
Okay.
Is it okay?
Yeah, make it a little bit bigger.
Yeah. Yep. Thanks. O God, my God, I beg of thee by the ocean of thy healing and by the splendors of the day star of thy grace, and by thy name through which thou didst subdue thy servants, and by the pervasive power of thy most exalted word and the potency of thy most august pen, and by thy mercy that hath preceded the creation of all who are in heaven and on earth, to purge me with the waters of thy bounty from every affliction and disorder, and from all weakness and feebleness. Thou seest, O my Lord, thy suppliant waiting at the door of thy bounty, and him who hath set his hopes on thee, clinging to the cord of thy generosity. Deny him not, I beseech thee, the things he seeketh from the ocean of thy grace and the day star of thy loving kindness. Powerful art thou art to do what pleaseth thee. There is none other God save thee, the ever forgiving, the most generous. Baha'u'llah.
This is mine, I think.
Yes. Yes. Stuart.
And if thou art looking for the divine remedy, which will cure the spirit of man of all diseases and make him obtain the health of the divine kingdom, know that it is the precepts and teachings of God. Take the greatest care of them. Abdul Baha. When I speak of health, I refer to spiritual health. The health of the body is impermanent. However carefully one seeks to preserve it, he will inevitably sometime become ill, his body broken. But spiritual health passeth not away. It is attained when the spirit of man is delivered from the conditions of this darkened world and becomes enveloped and permeated by divine qualities. Abdul Baha. Have mercy upon me, O God, according to thy loving kindness. According unto the multitude of thy tender mercies, blot out my transgression. Wash me thoroughly from mine iniquity and cleanse me from my sin. Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Judaism, the Old Testament, Psalm 51, verses 1 to 10. Health is the supreme possession. Contentment is the supreme wealth. A trustworthy friend is the supreme relation. Nirvana is the supreme happiness. Buddhist Dhammapada, sayings of the Buddha, translation J. Richards.
Touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you, and will be a father unto you. And these shall be my sons and daughters, says the Lord Almighty. Even therefore, these promises, dearly beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of God. Christianity. And it came to pass that the father of Publius lay sick of a fever and of a bloody flux, to whom Paul entered in and prayed, and laid his hands on him and healed him. So when it was done, others also, which had diseases in the island, came and were healed, who also honor us with many honors. And when we departed, they laid us with such things as were necessary. King James. And they were all amazed and spake among themselves, saying, what a world is this! For with authority and power he commanded the unclean spirits, and they come out. And the fame of him went out into every place of the country round about. And he arose out of the synagogue, and entered into Simon's house. And Simon's wife's mother was taken with a great fever, and they besought him for her. And he stood over her, and rebuked the fever, and it left her. And immediately he arose and ministered unto them. Now, when the sun was setting, as they that had any sick with divers diseases brought them unto him, and he laid his hands on every one of them and healed them. King James Bible, Luke.
Resort in times of sickness to competent physicians. We have not set aside the use of material means. Rather, have we confirmed it through this pen, which God hath made to be the drawing place of his shining and glorious cause. Well, is it with the physician who cureth the ailments and my hallowed and dearly cherished name, Baha'u'llah. I hope as you have received physical health, you will receive your spiritual health, as the body will be cured of physical diseases. In the same way, the spirit will be cured all of spiritual diseases. A cure of physical disease is very easy, but the cure of spiritual disease is very difficult. If one has fever and you give him medicine, the fever will vanish. But if the spirit is afflicted with the disease of ignorance, it is difficult to remove that disease. For example, if the spiritual health is afflicted with the love of the world, spiritual medicine must be given. These medicines are the advices and commands of God, which will have effect upon it. And further, the disciple dwells in the contemplation of the phenomena of the 7 elements of enlightenment. The disciple knows when there is attentiveness in him, when there is investigation of the law in him, when there is energy in him, when there is enthusiasm in him, when there is tranquility in him, when there is concentration in him, when there is equanimity in him. He knows when it is not in him, knows how it comes to arise and how it is fully developed. Eightfold Path, Buddha, the world.
O befriended stranger. The candle of thine heart is lighted by the hand of my power. Quench it not with the contrary winds of self and passion. The healer of all thine ills is remembrance of me. Forget it not. Make my love thy treasure and cherish it even as thy very sight and life. Baha'u'llah. Looking after one's health is done with two intentions. Man may take good care of his body for the purpose of satisfying his personal wishes, or he may look after his health with the good intention of serving humanity and of living long enough to perform his duty towards mankind. The latter is most commendable. Abdul Baha.
One more, Pandra.
Shall I read it?
Yes.
Enraptured with lust, enraged with anger, blinded by delusion, overwhelmed with mind ensnared, man aims at his own ruin, at others' ruin, at the ruin of both parties, and he experiences mental pain and grief. But if lust, anger, and delusion are given up, man aims neither at his own ruin nor at others' ruin, nor at the ruin of both parties, and he experiences no mental pain and grief. Thus is nirvana immediate, visible in this life, inviting, attractive, and comprehensible to the wise. The Eightfold Path, Buddha, the word, the Eightfold Path. And when I'm sick, he heals me, he who will kill me, and then bring me to life, and who I hope will forgive me my sins on the day of judgment. O Lord, grant me judgment and let me reach the righteous, and give me a tongue of good report amongst posterity, and make me of the heirs of the paradise of pleasure, and pardon my father verily. He is of those who err, and disgrace me not on the day when they are raised up again, the day when wealth shall profit not, nor sons, but only he who comes to God with a sound heart. The Quran, Surah 26.
For to one is given by the Spirit the word of wisdom, to another the word of knowledge by the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, to another the gifts of healing by the same Spirit, to another the working of miracles, to another prophecy, to another discerning of spirits, to another diverse kinds of tongues, to another the interpretation of tongues. But all these worketh that one and the selfsame Spirit, dividing to every man severally as he will. King James Bible. But if one deals with objects of the sense, not loving and not hating, making them, serve his free soul with rest serenely, Lord. Lo, such a man comes to tranquility, and out of that tranquility shall rise the end and healing of his earthly pains. Since he will governed sets the soul at peace, the soul of the ungoverned is not his, nor hath he knowledge of himself which lacked. He grows serenity, and wanting that When shall he hope for happiness? Hindu. O handmaid of God, the prayers which were revealed to ask for healing apply both to physical and spiritual healing. Recite them then to heal both the soul and the body. If healing is right for the patient, it will certainly be granted. But for some ailing persons, healing would only be the cause of other ills, and therefore wisdom does not permit an affirmative answer to the prayer. O handmaid of God, the power of the Holy Spirit healeth both physical and spiritual ailments. Abdul.
Healing without medicine. Question. Some heal the sick by spiritual means, that is, without medicine. How is this? Answer. A detailed explanation of this matter was provided earlier. If you have not fully grasped it, we will repeat it so that you may. Know that there are 4 kinds of treatment and healing without medicine. 2 are due to material causes and 2 to spiritual ones. As to the 2 material kinds, one is due to the fact that in reality, both health and sickness are contagious. The contagiousness of disease is rapid and violent, whereas that of health is exceedingly slow and weak. If 2 bodies are brought into contact with each other, it is certain that microbial particles will be transmitted from one to the other. In the same way that disease is rapidly and violently transmitted from one body to another, the strong health of a healthy person may also alleviate a very slight condition in a sick person. Our meaning is that the contagiousness of disease is rapid and violent, while that of health is very slow and of limited effect. And it is only in minor ills that this modest effect can be felt. In such cases, the strength of the healthy body overcomes the slight weakness of the sick body and brings about its health. This is one kind of healing. Another kind of healing is through the force of bodily magnetism, where the magnetic force of one body affects another body and brings about the cure. This force, too, has only a slight effect. Thus, someone may lay his hand upon the head or stomach of a patient, and perchance the latter will benefit from this. Why? Because the effect of the magnetism and the impression made upon the psyche of the patient may dispel the disease, but this effect is also very slight and weak. The other 2 kinds are spiritual. That is, the means of healing is a spiritual power. One is when a healthy person focuses his whole attention upon a sick person, and the latter in turn fully expects to be healed through the spiritual power of the former, and is wholly convinced thereof, to such an extent that a strong connection is created between their hearts. Should the healthy individual then bend every effort to heal the sick one, and should the latter have full faith that health will be attained, an excitement may be produced in his nerves from these soul-to-soul influences and bring about the cure. So, for example, when a sick person is suddenly given the good news that his most ardent wish and desire has been realized, a nervous excitement may result that will entirely dispel the ailment. In the same way, when a terrifying event suddenly comes to pass, such an excitement may be produced in the nerves of a healthy person that he immediately falls ill. The cause of the illness is not a material thing, for that person has not ingested or come into contact with anything. The nervous excitement alone has brought about the illness. Likewise, the sudden realization of a most cherished desire may impart such joy as to excite the nerves and restore health. In brief, a complete and perfect connection between the spiritual physician and the patient, that is, one where the physician concentrates his entire attention on the patient, and where the patient likewise concentrates all his attention on the spiritual physician and anticipates healing, causes a nervous excitement whereby his health is regained. But this is effective only to a point and not in all cases. For instance, should someone contract a grave illness or be physically injured, these means will neither dispel the illness nor soothe and heal the injury. That is, these means have no sway over grave illnesses unless assisted by the constitution of the patient. For a strong constitution will often ward off an illness. This is the third kind of healing. But the fourth kind is when healing is brought about through the power of the Holy Spirit. This depends neither upon physical contact, nor upon sight, nor even upon presence. It is not dependent upon any condition. Whether the disease be mild or severe, whether there be contact between the bodies or not, whether a connection be established between patient and physician or not, whether the patient be present or not, this healing takes place through the power of the Holy Spirit. Abdu'l-Baha.
Refresh and gladden my spirit, purify my heart, illumine my powers. I lay all my affairs in thy hand, thou art my guide and my refuge. I will no longer be sorrowful and grieved. I'll be a happy and joyful being. Oh God, refresh and gladden my spirit, purify my heart, illumine my powers. I will no longer be full of anxiety, nor will I let trouble harass me. I will not dwell on the unpleasant things of life. Oh God, thou art more friend to me than I am to myself. I will no longer be full of anxiety, nor will I let trouble harass me. I will not dwell on the unpleasant things of life. Oh God, thou art more friend to me than I am to myself. I dedicate myself to thee, oh Lord. I dedicate myself to thee.
Okay.
Thank you, Perry, for selecting such an interesting group of readings and from a variety of sources.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to welcome our speaker, and this is Mrs. Christella Jayawardena. Is that right?
Jayawardena, yes.
Jayawardena, thank you. Who was born in Sri Lanka and qualified as a chartered accountant. Spent 14 years living and working in Jamaica. Been here in Australia for 30 years. She has 2 adult children. Worked with large corporations in finance and accounting, but now more interested in mind-body healing and helping people with natural health. She is a Reiki master and CTC master practitioner. Christella is an avid researcher of natural health, the mind-body connection, and latest developments in these areas. And the talk tonight by Christella is subconscious mind and effect of emotions. Christella.
You had to unmute. Christella, you had to unmute.
Yes, sorry. Thank you, Colin, and thank you, Siva, and thank you everyone for tuning in. I don't know how much I can add after those last 2 readings because they pretty much covered, in a sense, what I have learned, but I will try to add some value to this meeting. So you've already had a little bit of information about my background, and I am an accountant and have been one for most of my life, but these days I find it a lot more fulfilling to really see if I can help people with health, because I think that's such a huge issue these days, and that is the most important thing, as we all have realized, especially in the last year or so. Anyway, I fell into Reiki. I know I have a fellow Reiki practitioner listening in, but with my very left brain, I fell into Reiki, hadn't even heard the word. I went along to a class because my daughter wanted to go, and there was no way that I could deny some of the things that I experienced there. So I then realized that there possibly was something more to it than, you know, touch, feel, and all the rest of it. And I came home and was kind of a bit puzzled about the whole thing, but I had experienced things that I couldn't deny. And a friend of mine came home with a very bad shoulder, and she was supposed to have an operation on her shoulder. And I said, look, I've just done this Reiki course. I don't know if I can help you, but I will try. So I gave her a full Reiki session. And I was so grateful that she said that her pain reduced from a level 8 to a level 2. And she came back for a second session, and she hasn't actually had her operation, and that's many, many years ago. So I kind of dragged my heels for a while and went and did the second level with my amazing Reiki master that I would really suggest you check out. She's a lady by the name of Joanne Antoon, and she is more than just a therapist. She's been a therapist for many years, but she seems to be able to tap into things that the average person cannot. So I'm very grateful that I studied under her. And she then encouraged me to do the Reiki master level, which again took me a while to do because I had lots of doubts at that stage. I'm a Catholic. My husband is a Buddhist, and we have been married for almost 50 years. So we've lived in a very accepting, and it has really made me very open-minded about other religions, and I'm very grateful for that. Because although I was really afraid to pursue Reiki as a conventional Catholic at the time, I then had to think that, you know, no logical God would be upset with you helping people. So I did, you know, continue going the Reiki path, but I was also working at the time with a corporation, and it was a slow process. And then I was at the same time doing a lot of Anthony Robbins work. I don't know if many of you have probably heard of him. I did his Reiki master level, and that's how I met my wonderful friend Sarah, who has joined us today. And my husband and I both crewed his events for about 10 years. And during those events, you do various exercises, and one of them was an exercise where you work in groups of 3, and one person goes into a state where they remember a very intense emotion, and the second person matches their physiology, the smile on the face, the position of the head, and third person, who is sort of the coordinator, makes sure that they are exactly matched in physiology. And then they ask the person who matches the first person what they were experiencing. And 90% of the time, they are experiencing the same thing that the first person was thinking about. So it goes to show that we do have some kind of unconscious connection. And there is a greater field that we tap into to connect with everybody. I know that our brains have this mirror neuron network, which matches what the other person is thinking. And I'm sure many of you have experienced the fact that you may be thinking of somebody at a point in time, and then the next thing you know, you're getting a call from them. And that's tapping into the same wavelength. So we all vibrate at different frequencies, and everything is energy. So I started on this path, I got very fascinated by quantum physics and Dr. Deepak Chopra's work and everything. I don't profess to be an expert. I'm only passing on what I have learned so far. And I was reading voraciously Dr. Chopra, whom I've seen live many times, Dr. Bernie Siegel, and many others. And there's also one of my very, very favorite books is a book called Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins. And in that, they calibrate the different vibrations of religions as well as emotions. And they use kinesiology. He had, and his team had developed kinesiology to calibrate different emotions and the vibrational frequencies of people and what they were thinking. So you find that the lower emotions, which are at the level of like a 20 on a scale of 1 to 1,000, always generate negative consequences on the body. And most of the time, a happy person is usually a lot healthier than someone who is constantly whinging and grumbling about things or has, enviousness, greed. There's an actual scale which rates all those different emotions. And the ascended masters like Jesus and the Buddha and all those wonderful teachers, they usually had been calibrated at the level of like 1,000, between 700 to 1,000. So you can easily do the calibrations yourself on people by testing them with the kinesiology and the muscle strength of the arms, which I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with, but it's quite an easy process. And initially I started trying it like a party trick because, it became, at that stage, it was really interesting. And you could get someone to look at a picture that had been painted, and if it was an original, when the person was looking at the picture, you tested stronger than if they were looking at a print. And you could do a test when someone was, telling the truth or telling a lie. So the truth always comes out stronger and lies make your body weaker. So it's really a fascinating field. And, if you calibrate, they say religions have been diluted to a point where some of them calibrate at a very low frequency. But most of the bigger, the true religions are calibrated at somewhere around above the 500 level, usually around 700. Buddhism is at 900 at this point, according to the book. And it's really a whole different tool to determine, how true something is. You can test anything at all. And the reason I'm bringing this into play is because the thoughts that we think also have vibrational frequencies, and that has an impact on our bodies. Now, they also, in Power versus Force, which I would highly recommend to everyone if you haven't read it already, it's such a fascinating book. They do say that, I think the group of us here today are probably calibrating at a higher frequency than many other people. And the number of people who calibrate at higher frequency can offset the lower frequencies. So they say if you calibrate at 700 and above, like the avatars, you can offset and counterbalance the negatives of about 70 million people who are calibrating below 200, which is the low levels of vibration. If you're calibrating at 600, you can offset and counterbalance the negative vibrations of 10 million people calibrating under 200. 500 and above, you counterbalance about 750,000 people at a lower level. And 400 and above, around 400 to 500, you're offsetting the negative vibrations of about 400,000 people. So I think it's really great that, people are waking up to a higher level of consciousness these days. And it's really important that we do, and that we keep our vibrational frequencies high, because not only does it help to offset all the negative that's going on in the world today, but also helps our own health, because positive thoughts have a better healing impact on the body. And that leads me to, another wonderful teacher who I think we've been following, called Dr. Jody Spencer. I'm not sure of whether any of you have come across him. But Dr. Jody Spencer was a chiropractor who broke his spine when he was in his 20s. And he had been told that he needed a Harrington rod surgery, otherwise he wouldn't walk again. But he said to himself that the power that created me can also heal me. So he decided he would not have the surgery, and being a chiropractor, he started in his mind recreating his spine every day. And he found that every time somebody said something negative, he would have to start all over again. So he found, though, that he really, one day, he actually managed to do it. And in 6 weeks, he walked without having had the surgery. So he decided that he would dedicate the rest of his life to finding out how the mind affected the body. And he became a neuroscientist. Now he teaches all over the world. He started by doing like 4-day workshops, but now he does week-long retreats. And of course, with COVID, he's just really started back doing them again, but he was coming to Australia every year. And I have a very dear friend who she and I did our Reiki master level together. She had thyroid cancer, and she actually managed to get into one of his workshops. By that time, she had got rid of her thyroid cancer, but it was really great that he teaches a type of meditation which is very, very different to our normal concept of meditation. And because he's a science-based person and all his work is backed by science, it's a little difficult to grasp, but his methods work. There are hundreds of testimonials on YouTube, and I have personally met people who have been to his workshops who have recovered from stage 4 cancer. And it ties in with the reading, which says that there are different types of healing. Like with the Reiki, it's not me, it's through me. You just become a clear channel to tap into another source. And if the intention comes from the heart, and you really have the intention to heal the person and do your best for them, I think you become a much better channel to pass the healing. But I think we all tap into the same energy source, and any one of us can do it. It's just, I guess, once you've actually gone through the training and all that for Reiki, you learn how to become a clear channel, and you get attuned to that vibrational frequency which helps you to pass that energy to the person that you are trying to heal. So it's a real privilege and a joy to be able to do this and, help people with their health. And talking about the subconscious, most of the time, children absorb things that go on around them. Up to the time that they are about 5 years old, everything they see gets lodged in their subconscious. And sometimes they may be, if somebody has touched them a particular way around the shoulders, say when they're in a very deep state of sadness, the next time someone does the same thing, they'll go into a state of sadness as well. And that's, I guess, the neuro-linguistic programming, the neuro-associative conditioning, which happens because all those memories get lodged deep in our subconscious and our cells. And with CTC, which I don't know if any of you are familiar with, it's a combination of therapies. One of the processes is EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, where you use a process where you tap out and clear the blockages in the energy circuits so that you recognize the problem that is existing and then clear it. CTC was also developed by Joanne, who had been a therapist for like 30 years. And she's taken the best parts of all the different modalities, some hypnosis, some Reiki, and a lot of NLP techniques, and strung them into a particular sequence where you gradually go down to the root cause of the problem so that people don't have to keep going back to a psychologist time after time. You really get to the root cause of the problem because it's clearing the subconscious patterns and whatever's lodged in your subconscious and getting rid of it once and for all. And it gives you the tools to move forward without being burdened by all of those things that have been holding you back, feeling not good enough. And sometimes you don't even realize what it is. It's just something that's been there from the time you were a kid. For me personally, I think my brother drowned when I was 4 months old, and my mother said I probably would have died if not for our neighbors, because it was the second son that she had lost. And when I was doing my training for CTC, you go through a process where you are asked at what time a memory occurred for you. And you don't even know it, but I subconsciously had this in my psyche, I suppose. And it came out that it was 4 months old when I was very fearful. So it's really fascinating how the mind works and how all of these things affect our subconscious and how it affects our behaviors later on. So I'm really grateful to be on this path, and I'm still learning, and I'm a very avid researcher, I would say. And if I can pass on or any knowledge at all to help somebody get clear on some of the issues that are bugging them, then I'm grateful to have been part of the journey as well. So what happens when you have a negative thought is, according to Dr. Joe, and this is not my original thinking, this is what I've learned, the same thoughts create the same behaviors, which create the same actions, and then that creates the same feeling. So the same feeling creates the same reality. So if we don't change the way that we are thinking, we will stay stuck in that same reality. That reality and those feelings generate the same patterns in our brain, and the circuitry and our brain cells and the neurons fire and wire the same old way, and they generate the same proteins, which are the building blocks of our cells. And the cells then get impacted with the chemical. If you're happy, you're generating dopamine, all those nice neurotransmitters. Whereas if you're sad and depressed or have anger, or in a fight and flight mode, you're generating adrenaline. So that is how the thoughts affect our brain cells to behave differently and create the different chemicals which impact our cells. So that's really how disease starts, and why they say stress is probably the greatest cause of illness. Because when you're stressed, you're constantly generating these negative thoughts, and fear is a terrible thing, because it's always creating a very bad state within ourselves and creating all these negative chemicals. And it's important that, you can't change your thoughts straight away, but being conscious of the fact that you need to change your thoughts is the first step. So I don't know if there's anything else I can add to this, but I'm happy to take any questions. If I have left anything, I hope I have been able to give you some food for thought. I'm glad to see that somebody else has power versus force. Great. Joel, yes. That's a good.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Thank you, Christella.
Sure.
That was a very enjoyable talk, and I think perhaps each of us can have a minute or two each to ask, or maybe 30 seconds to ask a question, and that will give you time to answer it as well. Yum.
Can I please ask, your study got very close to the chakra study, isn't it? Like there are 7 chakras in the body. The first is crown, third eye, throat, heart, navel, chakra, and the root.
Yes.
And for me, when people are taken to the hospital, and the doctor will check the heart and the brain first. There are 2 things that they check for the brain and the heart. And if they're not working, they will, try to help them with medicine or send them to surgery. So that is a very fast way. And the fast way of the modern medicine and modern sort of therapy.
Yes.
But you study about the natural health. So your step got anything to do with herbal medicine? Because if you study about Chinese politics, the Mao Zedong Cultural Revolution, he talked about acupuncture, and he talked about herbal medicine, and the study of Reiki, as I just listen to what you explained, I think it's extremely dangerous. The Reiki, because if the weak soul, they will not be able to pass through all the steps like this. And if it's just say the negative thought, they want to commit suicide, and how you're going to cure them? And whether when you cure them, that will be long-term cure or short-term cure, you see? It's extremely dangerous. And because it's only applied, like you say, for intellectual people who can control 7 chakras, you know, and have a theory of philosophy in life. And we, as individuals, and we are not God, we will not be able to overcome other people's energy, because that's against the nature.
Thank you. That's several questions there. Maybe Christella can
I'll
choose which
try
one.
my best to address them as best I can. Yes, you learn about the chakras, which are our energy centers, when you are doing Reiki as well. And I think that is, we don't try to cure ourselves with any particular chakra or whatever, you know, it's just energizing and clearing. And the most important thing is that it has to come from the heart, because once the heart and the brain are coherent, you create a really strong energy field. And Dr. Joel's teaching and his meditations are geared to have nothing to do with Reiki, really, but his meditations are geared to connect you to the divine, because that's where the healing happens. Because he says we can't cure matter with matter.
So that should be the main points that we need to speak first. Just like in all the readings, what we saw, this is the first reading, always talk about the Holy Spirit, and how you get cured, and how you get, you know, long-term cure, not a short-term fix. So therefore, it's for all the readings have been going through, it's all about the power of the Holy Spirit, because whatever man created, it can always have a counter effect and extremely dangerous for people who could not or was not be able to, you know, like to control themselves, mind and body and spirit, because not everybody is strong at the same way, length. Like you say, frequency, the strength of a human mind, not everybody is the same. So if they're not in the same level you are, for example, or somebody else like Buddha, then they will be, you know, like they will be weakened and weakened and weakened and die. And we cannot help them because we're not God.
Yes, we can't help them. All we can do is try to be an example in the way that we live our lives, the way we treat other people, and the kindness that we show. And sometimes it's difficult in today's world to stick to your principles and do the right thing all the time. But even when I did Reiki or learned Reiki, whenever I do a session, I always pray that I am able to help the person, because it is not me, it is through me, and it is not my doing at all. And I believe most Reiki practitioners follow the same principle and have the same belief, because it's a very humbling experience, really, because all we're doing is being a channeling the spirit and asking for guidance and the ability to pass healing. So I think ultimately the spiritual healing is the most important thing, but sometimes people need a little bit of I guess, material help along the way.
You know, that's like we're fighting against a Superman or Superwoman. Obviously, our energy is not strong enough to be with their energy. So Superman and Superwoman gonna knock people out.
But if we keep thinking like that, we won't achieve anything. We just always have to keep our thoughts strong and keep our vibrations high. And if we allow ourselves to, you know, buy into the fact that we can't do anything, then that's not going to help us or help anyone else either. So it's really important that we do our part to keep our own vibrations high and have a spiritual, whatever the faith is.
I'm glad of this opportunity to learn, because this is the first time I've known a tiny bit about any of these things. So possibly a few of us are beginners. It may be our first time and it sounds a bit strange, so forgive us.
Oh, look. Christella, can I ask a question? Do you do? Can I ask? Sorry, am I muted? No. Do you do a scan or scan the body or chakras before you do a healing, or you?
Yes, yes. I'm not always very good at picking up things. I sometimes surprise myself by picking up things. And yes, I try to scan. And, you know, I think the most important thing is the intention. And it should come from the heart that you really want to heal the person or pass the healing to the person. Sometimes it is not their destiny, I guess, or the will of God that they heal. But certainly I would recommend that. Siva, is that you who put Dr. Joe up on the screen?
That's right. I wanted to ask whether this is Dr.
Yes.
Spencer.
Yes.
Yes. So
he's amazing. His teaching is amazing. My husband, who is usually quite skeptical, he is very, because there's a lot of science behind Dr. Joe's work. He partners with the Institute of Heart Math, where they do brain mapping and all of those techniques as well to measure brain waves. My husband is very regular with his meditations. When I first started doing Dr. Joe's meditations, they were very strange to me and I found it very hard. But now that I understand where he's coming from, I can, you know, I really love his meditations. He's also got quite a few on the blessing of the energy centers, which possibly will help the lady who asked the question about it. But I can't speak highly enough about his work. I see there's another question.
Will you be able to pick up what disease yourself when you do the scanning, or how do you start treating?
Well, if I scan, you know, I sort of, it's the scanning with the hands. And then you can feel a difference in the energy field where there's a possible different feeling. And it means generally that there's something that's not quite right there. So then you kind of work on that and send energy and love to that organ if you feel that it's a digestive problem or a heart problem or whatever. And look, we all do the best we can do. And I don't profess to be, you know, an expert at it at all. But the intention is to heal.
Yes.
Sunita had a question.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Sunita. I'm from India. Nice to meet you all. I'm a dance and movement therapy therapist.
Right.
So I'm still learning the international course from New York, but I am doing the course through one of the institutions in India. I'm in Maharashtra, Pune.
Right.
So I'm a counselor. My profession is a counseling. So I have a question related to the scanning body. Like, for example, the other person asked, like, when we scan to know about a particular person's body, when it comes to emotional aspect, so how do you scan the emotional part of a person?
Look, if usually an emotion will be trapped somewhere in the heart center, and you'll feel a different energy sensation when you're scanning the body. Usually the person's on the Reiki table and, you know, you can pick up a difference in the frequencies. I can't say that I can tell them exactly what is wrong or whatever, but sometimes you get thoughts that come to you and you have to trust. You know, my Reiki master, Joanne, she's always said, look, trust the first thing that comes into your head and say it. And I was so diffident about doing that at first. But I found that, you know, I began to trust Joanne. I always trusted Joanne. She's just an amazing human being. And it turns out that 90% of the time, I mean, sometimes I'll even get a name about somebody, you know, and when you say,
so when you when you do the scan part, do you think that when a person emotionally has some feelings, like for example, like the person is completely under depression and also has the person has also some physical challenges?
Yes.
So we can fix through certain ways like Reiki and this movement therapy and sort of therapies we can definitely naturally can heal. But the person, when you are doing the body scan, if a person is emotionally weak or maybe depressed, do you think the heart rate of that person is high or, you know, higher than the usual?
I don't know whether you would say it's higher or lower, but there will, I mean, I can't give you a definitive answer on that, but you can feel that there is a difference in the energy frequency there that you can feel in your hand. Like there was one lady whose daughter had been, had died in an accident, who came to one of our sessions, and you could definitely feel that there was a huge blockage because she was holding on to a lot of grief without letting it go. You know, so you can feel the energy blocks, and that's, and if you are interested, I would suggest that you also check out EFT, you know, the emotional freedom technique. It's very good.
Is that the Joanne you are talking?
Yes, yes, that's my Reiki master, my CTC teacher. She's an amazing lady. She is more than just the average teacher. And I owe her a lot, because I would never have gone on this path if not for her.
Thank you.
Now I can't see everyone because there's so many, two screens. So if anyone would like to ask a question, please see if there's a gap and go right ahead.
I have a question to Christella.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for the talk. It was wonderful to hear your perspective on Reiki. I'm not in the natural therapy, so I'm pretty novice in that genre. But towards the end, you said that fear creates a very bad state. And I'm curious about what techniques you use to coax people out of fear, and whether you try to replace that with, you know, are you looking at the opposite to invoke courage, or are you just looking to bring back the person to some sort of a normal level of vibration, or what approaches do you use to address that?
Well, if someone needs some, you know, help, the CTC process really helps them to get rid of all those negative emotions and stuff that's keeping them stuck and blocked and, you know, unable to move ahead, and gives them the joy in life again. So that's what the CTC therapy, it's a transformational therapy. And you can always, of course, everybody doesn't want a CTC session, but if someone comes for a Reiki session and I sense that there is a blockage or something that I can help them with on the spot, I will do some tapping, because then you kind of rewire the energy circuits in the brain and get rid of the blockages, because all those things are like little knots. You know, I love acupuncture, and acupuncture uses needles. The tapping process, emotional freedom technique, is like acupuncture without the needles. So there are certain, you can check it out. I mean, it's something you can even learn by watching a couple of YouTube, you know, even the basics of it. You can watch some YouTube videos, and you can find out what it does and how it does it. The guy who actually brought EFT to popularity is a chap called Nick Ortner. He isn't the one who initially created the process, but he's the best known in today to have brought it out. I mean, I think if you remember the Sandy Hook massacre in the United States, where the school children were all, you know, affected, he did a lot of work helping a lot of the children there and the parents to come to terms with it by, doing a lot of that EFT for them and sessions. So I absolutely love doing it. It can be as short as 15 minutes or half an hour, so it's a really amazing therapy. And sometimes the body needs a little bit of help as well with nutrition, and you can't feel good if you're only eating hamburgers through life, and you have to support your body with good nutrition, good thoughts, good sleep, some exercise. I mean, I'm very blessed and I'm really grateful that I have very good health. I think I've inherited my mother's genes, and except for my knees that were beginning to remind me that the years were creeping up, I can't complain too much about anything. But I also found a solution to my knees with a natural product, which is good. So I'm fine. My dog and I are both on the same product. He's now 12 years old and like a puppy again. So it's, yeah, but and I have the greatest respect for allopathic medicine where it is required. But I also believe that it shouldn't be the first recourse, because the pharmaceutical companies are getting very rich on fear these days, and people give over the power, their power to controlling their health to someone else. So I think it's important that we all educate ourselves as best possible and see what we can do initially in a natural way with less side effects with, other therapies or products, like Siva knows in Sri Lanka, one of the famous remedies for flu is coriander water, and it still works brilliantly. Yeah. And my children just love taking it. I mean, I have, touch wood, haven't had the flu in years and years. So at the first sign of something, it's all these natural things have much less side effects and don't create half of the problems that some of the very strong medications do. But I think the mind is the most important thing, and meditation is very important because that's how you clear your mind and allow healing to happen.
Could I say something or ask a question, Christella?
Sure.
I'm also from Sri Lanka,
Yeah.
by the way. When it was a long time ago, about 26 years ago, I was a minister in Shell Harbour, Uniting Church, these close groups, so I can share it. Yeah. And that congregation was going through a very bad time, about 18 years of hurts. So I was sent there to bring some love.
Right.
So I did try my best. The church grew, a lot of interaction, but a lot of people left during that, at the time something happened. So, and these people were about 5 families. Mm-hmm. I never believed in demons.
Right.
And then this particular place, it was funny, the way they behaved, the way they talked, but they were the ones who were running the prayer meetings. Right. And they couldn't handle me bringing people from outside after a healing process or a hospital visit or anything. If I pray, they say, who are they? Why did you pray for them? Or, and they said, if I speak about love, they said they couldn't handle it.
Right.
Things happened then. Within 3 years' time, I thought I've done enough. We called the principal of a school to come and sort of walk with us, journey with us, because they tried to get me into that conflict itself.
Right.
Anyway, as you said, the divine power was very strong. Mm-hmm. So I was able to survive and the whole family. But then someone introduced me to a lady who was carrying out Warren therapy. It's called Warren therapy. Warren, W-A-R-E-N, something like that. It's a homeopathy doctor. And she, even her personality, the way she sort of receive me, the way that she talked to me. During that time, she will gauge with an oil on my oil drop on my tummy. She'll say, "What is happening to you?" Even from my skin, she will say, "What is happening? What is the stress you are going through? Who is causing this for you?" But within a couple of years, she brought me to a state of very physical strength as well as emotional mental strength. I was never like that in my life, because I grew up as I'm a Tamil, and you can imagine, as a human rights person, we went through a lot of things, and then she just lifted me up. So I went and tried to see her after a couple of years. She had retired by that time, and but she did talk to me when I went. But I never found another person who could pass on that type of energy. But she also gives a few drops of something like guli guli, to sort of to swallow. But
I haven't heard of that therapy, honestly, but I do believe that there are people with very strong powers of healing and who know a lot more than the average person, because I've had a few mystical experiences which I am very grateful for. A couple of occasions in my life, and because I'm a Christian or a Catholic, I guess it comes to me in the form of Jesus. My husband is a Buddhist. I think his nieces, when it just depends, I think, on what your faith is, because that's the way that it manifests in your consciousness. But that would be fascinating to find out. Like, the reason I kind of talk about Joanne so much is because she's just quite an interesting lady. She sees spirit. She said she grew up with 3 dead people sitting on the foot of her bed and thought it was normal and when she spoke about it, she's become a very dear friend now. But she also, when I had to put our last dog to sleep, I was alone at home. I had taken him to the vet and brought him back, and I knew that the vet was coming home to put him to sleep that afternoon. And I was sitting there crying with the dog on my lap. My husband was going to come back from work. My daughter was going to come home. And the next thing I knew was my phone rang. I just had the thought, thinking, I wonder if Joanne will see the spirit of this dog when he passes. And within a minute of me having that thought, my phone rang, and it was Joanne. And she said to me, I couldn't even talk to her. I was so shocked. She said, Christella? I said, yes. How are you? What's wrong? She picked up that something was wrong, and she never would call me on a weekday, because I had taken the day off work and I was home. But on a weekday, she would never have called me at home if she hadn't had that. So it shows that we have a very strong connection with some people, and they pick up on our vibes. So, and she's just at a different level completely. But, I think the way we have to go about things in the world is to keep protecting ourselves every day and keeping ourselves in the light and praying for protection, so that if there are lower energies, they can't affect you, they don't affect you. And always have that feeling of love and belief in your heart, because at the end of the day, love is the most important thing. And universal love really for our fellow human being and everyone on the planet, so that we can live in peace.
Absolutely.
But many people, I'm not talking about other experience, but some people is understood. They don't like to be touched or to be massaged to or to be tapped to. There's just some individuals that don't want to be touched, because just like, don't need to be COVID-19 to be social distancing. But there's some people, they just don't like to be tapped in or whatever. And I think that's a difficult case.
Yes, but you know, with Reiki, if you're talking about Reiki, you can do it without actually touching them. You don't have to lay your hands on the body. Most people like a Reiki session with the hands on them because it's very comforting. But for people who don't like it, you can always hold your hands above that so that they feel the energy. So, you know, and everybody we're all individuals in our own way, though we're all connected. And you can just work with people and meet them at their level, because one thing I've learned is that you can never and I'll never try to force anyone to do anything they are uncomfortable with, because that doesn't get you or them anywhere really. You just, people can, and this is one thing that, you know, I've learned I used to have a very limited view of the world coming from Sri Lanka, but my children, both my husband and I are accountants. Neither of our children are accountants. My daughter runs a Brazilian dance company. And yeah, you know, my son is in the movie industry and he in the computer field. So, but I have learned from them as well. And everybody comes with different references, you know. We think most of the time that people have to behave a certain way, but we don't understand where they are coming from, what their experiences have been, and why they are wired a certain way. So I think being non-judgmental is also important. And gratitude. My husband was reminding me that gratitude is very important. And that is true. It is a very, very high on the scale emotion.
Elizabeth has a question, I think.
All right, Elizabeth.
Yes, Elizabeth.
Oh, yeah.
Christella, thank you. It's been a beautiful talk. I have enjoyed it so much. And I am a great believer in the changing and the movement of energy.
Okay.
I'm also a great believer in spirituality.
Yes.
And how we are connected to that other world.
Mm-hmm.
And over the years, I've realized that everything that man needs is here on this earth.
Very much so.
And it's in the natural state, it is more gentle than perhaps the medical, pharmaceutical way. But science and religion have to agree.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a lot of wisdom in that. Mm-hmm. And talking about the spirits of your dogs, you do see the spirit of your dogs.
I'm sure. Yes.
And I have been blessed in seeing that. Oh, and I'll tell you a story. Years ago, when we were little, my father was very sick. And while we were at the hospital, we came home and found the dog had been kicked. And she had big lumps off her body. And we were so upset at Susie. And my mother said, "Don't cry, children." She said, "When that person comes back, Susie will tell us." Anyway, not long, this man came back and we knew that he had done the damage to the dog. And of course, at that stage, all I had, my only friend left in life was that dog. And I used to say to her, God will judge that man, and one of these days you'll have your day in court with God. Anyway, many, many years went by, and not so long ago, I was teaching Baha'i studies in state schools.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in a rush and it was cold. So I ran into the cupboard to get my overcoat. And I suddenly was in another space. And there was Susie.
Wow.
So excited and wagging her tail. And she was so thrilled. And I said to her, "Darling heart, you will get your day in court not long now." And with that, I whizzed off to class. Now, at the same time, my mother was in care. She was elderly. And we were administering her affairs, us three daughters. And on the Wednesday that we met, my middle sister came running in. "Guess who died? Guess who died?" "Who?" "Look, I've got the piece out of the paper." She was very excited. This man had died, and she had found his
Oh, gee.
Death notice. And I went, oh, I said to her, when was it? And it was that exact time that Susie came to me and told me she'd had her day in court.
Boy.
Yeah. And I've never forgotten that, you know. And when I read in the Baha'i writings and the Christian writings, the Creator, he created everything, even that little dog, even the herbs.
Of course, we've been provided with everything we need on the planet. It's just that we are not grateful enough or don't take time to realize it.
That's right. And when you read in the Baha'i writings, the mankind, God created us noble human beings. And when we reach that level, our potentiality will be so immense.
Exactly. Yes.
You know, and there will be no division between this world and the next world.
Yes.
But anyway, thank you so much. I have thoroughly enjoyed your talk, and I fully understand the transfer of energies.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you saying that very much.
Blessings on your work in the future too.
Thank you so much.
I just had a short question.
Sure.
You were talking about vibration, and you know, good people vibrate, and then some bad, not bad people, but some vibration which is not good can
low energy.
Low, yes.
How could you explain a little bit more about that, or how can we say, or how can we do that? You know, make more good energy that compass the other ones.
Think a better thought. If you're thinking, if you're in fear or something, you can't go from a very negative thought to a fantastically positive thought in one step. And the thing to do then is to think a slightly better thought. So if you're thinking that, you know, something that you really want is never going to happen, maybe you change that thought and say, there is a chance it may happen. And then you keep building on that until you reach a point where you are happy again and vibrating at thought that you know it'll happen. So it's a progression of keeping your thoughts at a more positive level. You know, if you follow the work of Esther and Jerry Hicks, they're known as Abraham Hicks. She's very amusing and very interesting in the way she explains that. That'll help as well. So as I said, you know, I kind of listen to as much as I can about these things and study as much as I can. So I find it fascinating. And if I can pass on a little bit of that, you know, every day we only have this moment and this time, and appreciate the time that we have. And yeah, I think, you know, the positive thoughts are the most important thing. And if one of the easiest ways is perhaps keep a gratitude journal at the end of every day. What I recommend to people that I work with is have a gratitude journal. And before you go to bed, think of 3 things that you can be grateful for every day, and just write down the 3 things, even if it is as simple as having a bed to sleep in. There are plenty of people out on the street who don't have anywhere to live. You know, so just gratitude is really a huge thing, and that it really raises our vibrations.
Could I ask one question, please? Is the chakras related to a religion, you would say?
No, not at all. It's just part of our composition. No. What is religion anyway? You know, I mean, it's a set of beliefs, I think. It's just energy centers, and that's the way the energy gets transmitted down from our root chakra, where the basal energies are to our heart chakra, to our third eye chakra and the 8th chakra. It's just energy moving, and it's not related to any religion at all. It's just us, our construction as human beings. That's our energy movement system is what I believe it is.
So being a Catholic or, sorry,
Sorry?
Being a Christian or a Catholic, would you keep a chakra tree in your house?
Oh, yes. You know, I was very, as I said, I was very diffident about even doing Reiki at the beginning. But sometimes you have to think for yourself. Like I was reading up on the Baha'i faith, and it's just wonderful. And, you know, because my husband is a Buddhist, I find that he's such a good human being. He's a better Christian than many Christians who go to church. And the Buddhist precepts, the 5 precepts, are very similar to the 10 commandments. At the end of the day, I think it all boils down to how we treat each other. And that's the religion that we have to live by. You know, if you treat other people the way that you want to be treated and love them, I don't think you offend anybody. And to me, it's as simple as that, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Salome want to add something in chief.
Salome.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me unmute. No, I completely agree with everything that our wonderful speaker has elaborated on tonight. I've been very lucky to discover Reiki 2 years ago. I must say that it changed my life. I'm a devout Baha'i as well, member of the Baha'i faith. But I think to summarize, and I'm a nurse as well. So I'm a registered nurse, I'm a Baha'i and a Reiki master.
Yes.
And I'm very lucky that I have my faith. Now, whether you're Christian, Muslim, Baha'i, doesn't matter. If you have faith in God, then you have a connection to God. And we have the prayers and the writings.
No, if we fail the word support.
I find the power of praying and meditation really, really useful in my life. But since discovering Reiki, I have realized that there is so much love and energy that I have been able to give that to my clients as well. But all my sessions always start with meditation.
Yes.
And with prayer, because through prayer we can connect to the divine healer, and the divine healer is God, and through his messengers. So all my clients know that I'm a member of the Baha'i faith. So for me, Baha'u'llah and his teachings have brought me my sort of spiritual connection to God. But a client may have no religion at all, and that's fine too. So yes, so I find that healing is on all these levels. Physical, if I know that they have a physical ailment, Abdul Baha has always said that the prime physician, your doctor, you have to listen to your doctor or your surgeon, and definitely we cannot rule out those means. But at the same time, Abdul Baha predicted that many of the ailments will be cured through foods that we eat, what we ingest, what we take inside. And as a Reiki practitioner, we do encourage drinking plenty of water and having a good diet. But I think I just want to summarize what I would like to add is a reminder of the 5 principles of Reiki, which are that we have no anger in our hearts.
That's right.
That we try and free our hearts from any worry, that we have love and compassion for every living thing, and that we work honestly every day. We live an honest life, which means all the virtues of the Baha'i faith for me, and all the 10 commandments of Judaism, the teachings of Christ, all of those beautiful manifestations that have brought us spiritual teachings. So by living according to their teachings is for me a way of living honestly. So yes, you can apply all the 5 main principles of Reiki to your everyday life, and any also belief that you may have. So yeah.
I agree. Thank you for that.
Would you please repeat that 5 things?
Yes, so it's very simple. So they say that you can't be amazing every day, but you can try each day and repeat those to yourself. That just for today, I will not be angry. Just for today, I will not worry. Just for today, I will be grateful for every little thing, whether it's the air I breathe, etc. So gratefulness, which Christella also touched on very strongly. Just for today, I will love every living thing, every whether it's animals, the plants, the planet, or the people and family and friends, it doesn't matter. And also, just for today, I will work honestly. So now working honestly is not just working in your professional career by, giving it all, everything you have, 200%, not just doing it for the money, but also by being trustworthy, by being truthful, by being sincere in your relationships with everybody. So across the board.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, they're good principles.
I just want to ask you about the chakra, please. You know, like when we press on somebody's chakra, we try to help them and heal them. And, you know, if you study martial arts or kung fu in China, people can help each other by the press on chakra. But if the amateur one, the one doesn't know, he press the wrong chakra, he can kill that person. That's in kung fu and martial arts.
Oh, right.
Probably true, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why it's extremely, careful when we try to give our energy to other people in that sort of pressing and tapping and everything.
Yeah, I guess you have to know what you're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate your talk and Sally's contribution, because I'm. You said you were left brain, like methodical and analytical,
Yes,
which I would have thought no hope for anything alternative like this, and yet maybe there's a lot that I don't know. So thank you very much.
Christella, if I could just say that, like Christella, I was very skeptical about any of these modalities as well. And my sister, for example, who's practiced yoga for over 20 years, I was always, oh, I don't know, my faith is enough for me, or my nursing is enough for me, medicine, and so on. But I find that I went through a very tough time 2 years ago with my mum's cancer and lots of things happening in my personal life, that I found that it was at that time when I was at my weakest, when my sister, I spent 2 weeks with her in Cappadocia in Turkey. Now, Cappadocia, it's just like the prophets who run to the wilderness or whatever for 2 years and they hide from everybody. And I found why the Buddhists, Hindus, certain religions practice mindfulness and their meditation for, say, half an hour or sometimes half a whole day, or sometime during the day. They sit and they just think of nothing, or just focus their thoughts. And that's practicing, that helps you to practice meditation. And that sort of clears your thought process so that when you're praying, you're really concentrating. So you know how many times do you pick up a book and you read the first line and then your mind starts to have its monkey chatter and you can't really finish even that first page. I found that spending those 2 weeks with her, doing yoga every day, and she did gentle yoga with me because I'm not very physical. It was more the meditation aspect of it that I tapped into. So when I came back to Australia, I decided that I will study something to help me, something more for my mind. And I found that Reiki was just perfect for me because it helped you focus your mind, clear out your mind process. Always remember to connect with the divine, which for me is God and Baha'u'llah, and the spiritual teachings that Baha'u'llah brought. But also have clearing up my body through scanning every day, and having that positive energy that Christella was talking about. And there are three things that I try and say to everyone is to be forever positive, try and be forever cheerful, and forever approachable. So that's really, I think, if you can let in these modalities into your life, it could actually change your life.
I totally agree. You know, my email address, my personal email address is christella@cheerful.com.
Oh,
so it
fantastic.
keeps reminding me to be cheerful.
Oh, that is brilliant. Yeah. It's a state of being. If we are not all wired up to be cheerful every day.
No.
But if we can try, as you said, to just allow positive thoughts, remove all the negative thoughts. Negative thoughts are like toxins, you know, then that sort of helps too. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
I think I typed it there. How do you treat people who have deep entrenched anger or addiction or fear? If they have this thing, how do you treat them? How do you get them out of it?
Well, I know that the CTC process is extremely powerful at getting people out of addictions. I've actually managed to cure two people, not cure, I should say, but help two people who were addicted to cigarettes. One was a lady who had to have an operation and her surgeon wouldn't touch her unless she stopped smoking. And I was very grateful because she was a former neighbor. I was very grateful that I was able to help her because she had a colostomy bag and she had to have it fixed and all that sort of thing. And she couldn't get rid of it until she stopped smoking. So the CTC actually taps into that subconscious mind and rewires your thought processes. You can get rid of addictions using one of the processes in CTC. Anger too, there's always a reason behind the anger because there's something that has caused that anger to originate, and you go back in the CTC process to the root cause of all those negative emotions of anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt. So I just absolutely love doing the CTC because you see the person changing literally in front of your eyes. If you go to Joanne's website or my website, mine is certainly nowhere near as wonderful as hers. I just created it with very little knowledge on how to create a website. But hers has a lot of information on the various therapies and the modalities can be used. So the good thing is that CTC can be done via Skype as well. Even in lockdown, you can help someone, you know. And whilst you can also, as you know, send Reiki at a distance after getting to that level. It's all energy and connections, and it's great that there was someone who understands what, you know, Reiki does as well and can support what I was saying. So thank you for that.
And we have, not here, we have a friend who was with us at the university.
Yes.
He does what he calls
pranic healing.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So
similar.
Yes, but all these are similar with different names.
Yes.
Yeah.
You said that energy, universal energy, or the energy from that power, anyone can tap into it.
Absolutely, yeah.
One can transfer those into. So with our positive thought, that could be done.
Yes.
This I like to share. There's one quotation from the Baha'i teachings. Baha'u'llah says this in tone. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
So this is from Baha'u'llah. It says, in tone, O my servant, the verses of God that have been received by thee, as taught by them who have drawn nigh unto him, that the sweetness of thy melody may kindle thine own soul, and attract the hearts of all men. Whoso reciteth in the privacy of his chamber the verses revealed by God, the scattering angels of the Almighty shall scatter abroad the fragrance of the words uttered by his mouth, and shall cause the heart of every righteous man to throb. Though he may at first remain unaware of its effect, yet the virtue of the grace vouchsafed unto him needs sooner or later exercise its influence upon his soul. Thus have the mysteries of the revelation of God been decreed by virtue of the will of him who is the source of power and wisdom. So, I mean, the energy, whatever we use, whatever we through our vibration send out, is from that superpower.
Yes.
And especially when we utter the words of God, whether it is Baha'u'llah's words or Jesus' words or Buddha's words, it has those. You said that some of these religions, you said they have on the calibration 700 or 900, and then some people will have certain level, and each one can compensate so many thousands of low energy.
Yes.
So through this, we learn that we can, every one of us, have the capacity to receive those positive, these through our positive thoughts and transfer into others. And I meeting you is a mysterious way that God has made this to happen, because I never met Christella in person. This is on the
Nextdoor.
There is an app called Nextdoor where I was posting about these meetings and spirituality and things like that, and she was also interested in these things, so that's how we got connected.
Fantastic.
So I think this mysterious force is working.
Yeah.
And
yes, they say there are no coincidences.
yes.
Anyway, it's
thank you very much. Thank you for your scholar teaching. It really, like need somebody who have a bit of deep philosophy and psychology and everything, and knowledge of medicine and knowledge of kung fu and knowledge of chakra and knowledge of Reiki, sort of like a scholar study. As people should be given a scholarship, fund to study the subjects. Thank you so much for that.
Tracy, you want to ask anything?
Tracy, Sachi, Asim.
Oh, it was a wonderful talk, and I can really feel the the genuineness of your loving heart towards the people you help. And I just wanted to mention about Dr. Emoto, who took the photos of the crystals from the different words, and the power of gratitude.
Yes. Yeah. All those pictures that you can see.
Even dirty Japanese water could be transformed by just wrapping the word "thank you" around it.
Exactly.
So we should never underestimate the power of gratitude. Anyway, I'm very grateful that you spoke tonight.
Thank you for bringing that up, because that's also, such a fascinating thing, that words have power, and that's why they say we have to choose our words carefully.
Yeah, no, Christella, thank you very much. It was really very informative thing. But I guess two things. One is first I share my views, and then I have a question at the end. We all born, we didn't know we're gonna born, so we born, but we all know we're gonna die. So that's confirmed. So while we know we all gonna die, in that travel, there are different paths, different ways, different techniques are there to get to that path. And whatever gonna happen after that, I guess that's not the topic. of this. So as long as what you say, we have got this attitude in us to, in different very paths, we're gonna mix with different mentality, different ways, different techniques, different, I even say different food.
Yes.
Right? So as long as we are open, and there will be a possibility we like some which matches with us, because that's the way we've been created. We all have our uniqueness. And as long as we are open to keep moving forward and not blocking ourselves or each other, I mean, it's a two-way sort of a thing. End of the day, maybe tomorrow you guys will be saying, oh great, this guy was awesome, he just gone because the lovely COVID got him. or many things. So thank you very much for sharing that. And the question I have, did you say that you guys can do not physically over the phone or like a video sort of a thing, therapy as well?
CTC therapy is pretty effective via Skype. I have done some sessions, overseas with a couple of people in the States and in New Zealand, and it can be delivered via Skype or Zoom or whatever, it's still very effective.
Estella, I have some beliefs in energies. There are various forms of it. I'm trying to understand over the Wi-Fi connection. I'm an IT guy, all right? I need to somebody's going through what my IT protocols is it energy can transfer as well. I mean, I know you can ask question. I know you guys have this technique, and I have seen videos and have some understanding that there are energies around our bodies. But can this energy travel or a video link, or is just a CTC is a question session?
Look, I mean, we tune into a radio frequency and we turn our radio to that frequency, and we believe we are receiving that. You don't see it. What about Wi-Fi? It's all out there, and you can't, like Esther Hicks says, she channels this group called Abraham. You can't tune your radio to 101.5 and expect to get the broadcast from 106.7. So you really have to tune into a frequency, and you can do that. I mean, it's I guess just understanding that there is stuff that we don't see with our physical eyes that you're tapping into.
Now that's very interesting. Good to know. In my childhood, I read something about telepathy, which means you could be in another world and you can connect. So I guess that there are ways. I guess it doesn't mean if I haven't seen it, it doesn't exist. It does exist. As I just haven't experienced it yet. Exactly. And probably one day I'll look at your website and we may experience that as well. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you all.
Can I add, Asim, can I add that though you are through the Skype or Zoom or whatever it is not through that Wi-Fi or that connection this energy is transferred.
Exactly.
She was already mentioning that even without this, when her dog was in trauma, Joanne actually called, that connection was through some other means. It's not necessarily through the Skype or the thing. So our thoughts actually have effect in the world. So the positive thoughts will have, So
I'm definitely agree, Siva and Islam. Definitely, I was just thinking I'm gonna go and block my boss communication tomorrow. I agree. It is still.
Try an experiment. Think very hard about a friend who hasn't called you for a while and see when you get a call.
Now, definitely, my wife is sitting there. I don't want to think about that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Can
I say something? Allow me to say something, please. I'd like to thank her also, ma'am. Thank you very much. I was hearing your talk very much, and I really learned so much of it. I just took down a lot of notes about all the things you have mentioned. And before I Just please allow me to quote the writing from Baha'u'llah now. And I'll stop there, please. Thank you very much. Allow me. The Lord hath ordained as a sovereign remedy and the mightiest instrument for the healing of all the worlds and the union of all its peoples in one universal cause, one common faith. This no wise can be achieved except through the power of a skilled and all-powerful and inspired vision. This verily is the truth, and all else not but error. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you.
Thank you. Don't let that go. Thanks. So,
Well, I might hand back to Perry to wind up because we finished on a good note there. Thank you, Christella.
thank you so much. I appreciate you all and all the questions. And
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Perry, you're muted.
You're muted, Perry.
Sachi, do you have any comments? Sachi, any others?
I think we are too late now to.
Okay.
I like to thank Christella for the nice talk. We enjoyed it and we got information from you. Thank you very much. But I, since it is there any time, Perry?
Yes. Sure.
If you don't mind, yeah.
Yeah, as long as friends are willing to stay, and if they want to go, they can go. And if I had to go, I will say when I had to go.
Then I will tell you something. I will try to brief it.
Yes.
In the sense, I'm always a little contradictory here, but not that really I want to. But I have simple things only regarding life. Life is a very simple thing. Provided we go and learn how we were created and what is happening around us. This vibration started from the Big Bang immediately, from the bang itself. And then the vibration due to the polarization continued while this nuclearization and when the hydrogen and helium were formed. That's how the stars are vibrating and burning there with energy. Similarly, then these stars produce the chemical elements that got collected in our earth. We are the products of these elements. So that vibration is always continuing in us. Mm-hmm. So we should know that mainly somebody need to tell us if we know this fundamental thing, we should be able to tackle ourselves. It's more a psychology or psychiatry we are trying to tell the people, saying that you do this, do that, do that. As this thing, we should know ourselves. That's a basic thing here. That's why I always like everyone to ask to go from the Big Bang and see how the universe or the cosmos is functioning. And we are part of it. Earth is just a very insignificant part of universe. And why Earth is only holding life. It's all because of these elements and the vibrations. Because other gaseous planets are full of gases. They can't support life. So then again about this, I want to just touch on this, what do you call this chakras. Mm-hmm. Chakras are actually, it's a collection of nerves or a junction on the spinal. Yes. So that is actually mainly used for reflexes and to send energy to the brain. And the brain has got brain centers or sites for every function of us. So that is how it works. Actually, we always recall heart is doing that, heart is doing that. By scientifically, heart has only a few nerves for it to function. There's a bundle of his. There's nothing to change our mood or vibration. Only when the blood flows, we may feel good, and that reflects to the brain. And this.
I think, can I interrupt you for a second?
Please, yeah.
The heart chakra and the physical heart are different, sir.
No, I'm telling you, this is the different one. Yes, chakra is nerves, heart is muscle. I know.
Heart is heart. Physical heart is, and the location of the heart chakra are different. They are not the same. Isn't it?
The chakras.
I can ask the Reiki people whether I am right.
No. Chakras on the heart. Heart has no nerves. We say, I love from my heart. You can't love from your heart. It's the brain. Everything is your brain.
Everything's connected.
Brain
to the
is
heart and the brain.
evolved in such a way. This comes with the evolution. With all the steps up, we are fully evolved up to this point to tackle so many things. And our problem is fear. Because we are allowed, we are evolved, we fear for everything. We fear for the future. We fear for the, even God, what God will think. And God actually is not fear for him. So his definition is loving, merciful Father. So he will never, and also he, so a person, God like that, we need not to fear. The main thing is, if you know your structure and where you are living, you can treat yourself. Say, for example, I have an easy life. I think I have an easy life because there is nothing troubling me. Say, other thing is the greed. If you are not greedy, you don't need to fear or you don't need to worry. See, naturally, think of the animals, how they are living without this. Only the predators are the fear for them. Nothing else. They are not worried about food. Plenty of food is available in this thing. Here, some people are hoarding. That is why the fear comes. Some want power and this thing. After all, we are going to live for, say, average 80 years, not even 100. And we think there is life, another life. That's another problem, which I am really contradicting. There's only one life and a short life. Why not we live peacefully and happily and finish it off? We don't know about the next life.
Yes.
So even next life, when you die, will you be the same? No, we don't know. We talk about soul. There is no need when we are working on our brain and all, there is no need for another engine to work as. So please, that is a different concept. But as it is, if we know, say, I would ask all of you to read the Big Bang theory up to the end of Big Crunch and end of the universe. Then in evolution, from bottom to the top of the tree. And then we know how we are specializing in our brain and how the brain is working. What is the main cause of it? So that's why I wrote a book on that. If you can, I don't need to sell it. I just wrote what I understood, and that's the fear, greed. These are the two essential things we have to forget, or we have to shut it off. Then there will be no problem. Thank you very much. I am a little.
Thank you.
This is my view.
I mean, we're all
This is my view. But we enjoyed your speech. It was very good. As a treatment, it is a very good service, and it is needed for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to comment? Question last minute. We can close if you don't have any. Is anyone okay?
Thank you.
So thank you very much. Tracy has gone, right? Okay.
Yeah, Tracy sent a message. She's going.
Yes. So we'll see you. Please come and join us every Thursday, and you are welcome to come and share your thoughts, which is
thank you.
Thank you. And
thank you all very much.
Christella, we like to hear from your husband one day.
I'll tell him. I'll let him know.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christella.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you.
Christella. Thank you
very much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you
It
all.
was
Thank
very
you.
Thank you, Christella. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.